Hello and welcome to our next CSI sponsored video short. In the fall of 2022, we surveyed the counseling body and learned that students wanted to get to know their faculty. So we have a series of video shorts interviewing some faculty members, and with me today I have Mallory Darwall. Mallory, welcome. Real quick, my name is Kathy Medlin, and I am a grad student in the CMHC program here at the University of Akron, and am the 2022-23 CSI Secretary Treasurer. Mallory, thank you again for joining me today. If you wanted to start by telling me a little bit about yourself, your education, work in the field, and how your professional identity has developed over the course of your career.
Thank you for having me. So my background is in clinical mental health counseling. So I got my master's degree from Eastern Michigan University. After that, I went on to work in a few different community mental health agencies, primarily with adults. But a little bit later in my career, I've actually worked on 2 different college campuses and university counseling centers. I would say that's really my passion, is college student mental health. It's informed my dissertation that I'm currently working on, pursuing my PhD at Kent State. And currently I work as the clinic director at the Clinic for Individual and Family Counseling here at the University of Akron. So that's a little bit about my journey. You had asked me about, how my professional identity has kind of changed or evolved over the years. Truthfully, I think everything that all the experience I've had has really been kind of happenstance. I've kind of fallen into things. I kind of fell into counseling also. I wasn't kind of where my original path was, but I was drawn to it kind of after college and really fell in love with it. I really enjoy the, I would say, diversity of our position. We have a lot of variety in what we can do, the diversity of the people that we serve also. So I think over time, what I really evolved, from a clinician and having a really strong clinical identity, to pursuing my doctorate, I have more of a counselor educator hat, I would say. So that professional identity really involves more of that education piece, supervisor, leadership. So I've kind of, I would say, evolved more into my own identity, whereas early on I might have wanted to really be like my professors or my classmates. It's like, oh, I really like how they did that, or their presence in the counseling room. But I think over time I've become more secure in who I am and what sounds like me in the counseling room, and also in these various roles.
Great. I will say having you as clinic director has been great over this past semester of the spring. Mallory is new to the University of Akron here, and we've just been lucky to have you. It's been great having you here.
Thank you. I very much feel at home here. So.
Great. Yeah. We welcomed you with open arms, and we love having you.
Thank you.
In terms of Chi Sigma Iota, I understand that you have a background. Have you had some involvement? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I first was involved in my master's program. I was president of our chapter at Eastern Michigan. I also was president at University of Mississippi, where I started my doc program. So I've had leadership roles in a couple different chapters of Chi Sigma Iota. Also at Kent State, I served in, not president, I kind of hung that up after a couple of years, but I served in other capacities on the leadership board. Chi Sigma Iota has always been close to my heart as a graduate student, as a counselor. I think it's a wonderful way to bridge, I think, what we do kind of in the academic side with the community that we're also situated in. I have had the opportunity to develop workshops and conferences locally to where I was serving, and it's just been a wonderful, enriching experience, I would say.
That's great. Yes. In terms of theoretical orientation, what foundation resonates with you the most, and how has this guided your work?
I would say I'm a very existential counselor. I'm a very focused on meaning making and people kind of writing their own story. That I think is the foundation of my lens that I use when I work with people. How that's informed me is really to try to meet them where they're at, to appreciate the steps that they have taken to this point and kind of honor those as, their way of adapting. I try to walk with them, not drag them down the counseling path, but really just be a guiding light on their journey and knowing that that is unique for everybody. And so really just wanting to step into their world. So that's kind of my overall lens, I would say. How I am in the counseling room as a clinician, I use a lot of art-based techniques and interventions. Sandtray is something that I utilize in not only my clinical roles, but also in supervision as well. So just a lot of that, abstract and kind of, again, making meaning out of something that is a little bit more in-depth and maybe just kind of things that you can't put words to, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, that's awesome. In terms of classroom instruction, what classes have you taught? I know it's not here, but at other universities, and why do you think they're important to a K-CREP accredited program?
That's a great question. So I currently I do teach practicum.
Oh,
but you don't know if you knew that about me.
I did not know
I wear many hats here. So I teach a section of practicum here, but I also, in the past, at my other institutions I've been at, have taught a lot of different foundational courses, skills, techniques, diagnosis. I've taught more maybe like advanced classes, treatment planning, things like that. Group. So I've taught kind of, I've had the opportunity and I'm fortunate to have been able to teach across kind of our curriculum at different K-CREP accredited programs. And why I think that's important is because really K-CREP helps us have a standard of excellence. I think that the programs I've been a part of really push expectation, and I've served as a gatekeeper for this profession, I believe, in those roles as well. And so, I think the standards that are set there are ones that kind of help us be better clinicians, they help us be self-reflective, but they also give a good foundation for those next steps after graduation as well.
Great. For anyone who might be coming into practicum soon, can you give like a high-level overview or a summary about what practicum looks like?
Yes, so the best way I can describe practicum, and maybe you can speak to this too, having gone through it yourself, but I think what we really try to develop here at the clinic is, kind of that initial step into that real world. This is the first time you're seeing clients that aren't your classmates, probably,
Yes.
So it feels a little bit different. But we want to push people and bring them up to those expectations to make them good clinicians. But we also want to provide a bubble of support. So I would say that practicum is one of the times when a student has the most probably supervision and support, and that's intentional. We want to guide you in these early stages. But we also want to help you be confident in yourself too, because just as clients are unique in their counseling journeys, students are unique in their clinical journeys and their identity in that. So I think practicum it's a hard work. It's a very different semester than I think students may have experienced before. We very much run the clinic like a community mental health agency. So we serve the greater Akron area, and you will have clients across the lifespan. So it's a really great exposure, I think, to those first, those first chances to practice counseling.
Yes.
But we're with you, that way, whether or not that's your supervisor, the clinic staff, me, there's always someone to.
Yeah, I can certainly attest to the support that you receive while in practicum from you all the way down to the clinic staff and your cohort as well. The support from your fellow counseling peers.
Absolutely, and I truly think that's so important, because it can feel like a lonely profession at times, I think, unless you can lean on fellow clinicians. And I think the bond that you have with your cohort and the computer lab together, I think it's good to be able to consult and just kind of lean on, if you have a hard session or there was something that went really awesome that you want to talk about. We help lift each other up.
Yeah,
so
definitely get that. Well, Mallory, thank you so much for being here today, for your time and your wisdom, and I appreciate you being with us and answering questions, and thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay. Where do I turn it off?
Just hit the screen.